Well, good afternoon, everyone. We do have our reopening of secondary schools webinar happening this evening. We're just getting our panelists on board now. I see we already have attendees. Thank you and welcome. I will be starting this shortly. We are going to start at 5:30. Just give us a few minutes to get all set up. Thanks for attending.
Marie, I noticed that mine says it's not on. Is that
I was
on your
about
end?
to let all of our panelists know that I have now turned on your ability to turn on your cameras. So feel free when you're
Okay.
ready.
Okay. Thank you.
Can you guys hear me?
We absolutely can. And just so that all of our panelists know, we are live. We've got about 20 attendees already joining us this evening. So thank you to everyone for being here. Appreciate it. Carolyn Van Walker. Oh, it's been a long day, Carolyn. I see you as an attendee. If you need to be promoted up to a panelist, please just raise your hand and I will take care of that for you. Good evening to our panelists as they join us. We will be starting this evening at 5:30. We are currently live and already have attendees. It's nice to see so many familiar names attending tonight. We'll be starting again at 5:30, so bear with us as we just get everybody all set up. Thanks for attending. Good evening to our panelists who are just joining us now. We are live. We do already have attendees with us this evening. Early bird gets the worm. We will be starting in about 10 minutes, so everyone's got a few minutes in case you need to take care of anything on your end. We're just getting all of our panelists, our interpreters set up. We do have closed captioning just below in case anyone needs that, and we'll be starting shortly. Good evening to our panelists who are joining us. Want to let you know we are live, and thank you to all of our attendees. I see we've got some folks already starting to show up this evening. This is the secondary reopening webinar this evening. We will begin at 5:30. It's about 5:22 now, so just give us a few more minutes to get everyone settled in, along with our translators and our interpreters. It'll be just a few minutes. Thank you for being here. Again, good evening to all of our attendees and our panelists. We are going to start about 5:30. We're just trying to get all of our panelists and our translators and everyone on board. So thank you for being here. We are live so that all of our panelists know. But again, thank you to everyone who's attending. I see a couple of names that I saw at our teacher and staff vaccination clinic today. So it's great to see that you're on here. Just give us a few minutes and then we will be live at about 5:30. Well, we're already live, but we'll begin our presentation about 5:30. Thank you for being here. Again, thank you for everyone attending this evening. Panelists, we are live and we will be starting just about 5:30. I am waiting on our translator and a few more folks to join us. So again, thank you for attending. We'll be with you shortly. Ms. Castaño, how are you? I see you.
I'm here. I'm good.
All right, I am going to transfer you over to our interpretation mode if that's okay with you.
That's fine.
Thanks for being here. We appreciate it.
No worries.
Oops, I almost made someone else the interpreter. That would not have been good. Okay, Ms. Castaño, I believe we have you on the Spanish channel. Let's try it out.
Okay.
Nope, I still hear you. So give it a second.
Yeah, hold on.
And now I don't hear you. So that means you are on the Spanish channel, and we will have a slide in just a moment or two so that our Spanish speaking folks know to go over to the interpretation button. So just give me a few more minutes to get everyone set up and we will go to that slide. Thank you, attendees, for being here. I see quite a few of you that I know, so it's so great to see you all here. We're happy to provide you with this presentation tonight on reopening of schools. Give us just a few more minutes. It is 5:27. We will start right about 5:30. We're just waiting for a few more panelists. So thanks for being here. And just so our panelists know, we are live. Panelists, if you can just do me a favor and with a visual thumbs up, let me know if you can see the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Perfect. So those of you know who you are that will be assisting me this evening answering some of those Q&As. We will also be doing a live Q&A at the very end of our session tonight. So thank you to those that are assisting me. We are just a few minutes out. So attendees, I see we have more and more people joining us. We want to give everyone the same start time. So we're just going to wait a few more minutes. Panelists, we are live and we appreciate you being here this evening. So just about 2 or 3 more minutes and we'll get started. Thanks, everybody. Also, if we have any panelists that is currently an attendee and is not on screen, please just raise your hand in the attendee area, use your raise hand icon, and I will go ahead and promote you. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Dr. Rice, it is now 5:30. I'm going to go ahead and start by sharing my screen and going through the housekeeping items, if that's okay with you. Great. Oh, 1 second. Well, 2021's got a little sassy attitude like 2020 does, and it doesn't want to let me share my screen. Dr. Bayless, can I ask you to do me a great big favor and go to venturausd.org, download tonight's presentation in English, and share your screen. This is what happens when we get a new computer. I should have gone with the old one.
Okay, Ms. Quiroz, I have it up and you would like me to share my screen, I presume?
If you don't mind, and I'm going to ask you to be the person to move the slides tonight. I apologize. That was not the plan, but thank you.
No problem. Lots of power, lots of control. I love it.
So if you can go to slide 2 for me, that would be great.
Second. How are we doing there?
Perfect. Can everyone else see that screen? I hope so. So welcome to tonight's presentation. As you can see here, I'm going to make sure we're in view mode and we should be, yes, we should be good now. So if you need closed captioning, our live closed captioning is currently on, and you can find the closed captioning button down at the bottom if you need that. If you would like to hear this presentation in Spanish, please click the interpretation button, and then you will be sent over to our Spanish language channel where we've got Mrs. Senora Castaño preparing everything for us in Spanish. In addition, we have our tonight's presentation in Spanish on our VUSD website. That's at www.venturausd.org. We have it in English and in Spanish in case you'd like to go back to look at it at any point. Again, the presentation tonight in Spanish, the PowerPoint, is located on our website at www.venturausd.org. If you'd like to ask any questions during the presentation, our group of panelists are going to do our best to answer your questions throughout the presentation. Many of your questions will likely be answered from the presentation we're about to give. And at the very end, if we do have time, we plan on answering some of those questions live. So again, thank you to everyone who is joining us tonight for our secondary reopening workshop. We already have about 400 of you on so far, and I know we'll be having even more. We will be recording this and providing you with the recording tomorrow on our website. Again, that's at www.venturausd.org. Dr. Rice, I think we're ready to go, so I'm going to hand it over to you. Dr. Bayless, if you can get us to the next screen, please.
Well, good evening, everybody. I'll trust a few of you to give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. We always want to make sure that things are working properly. Great. Good to have you all on the call this evening. I want to start off this evening by introducing a few of our panel members and thank them for being here with us this evening. I'm going to start with our board members, and I know that not everybody can see everybody on the screen because we're in screen sharing mode right now. But I do want to introduce our board president, Velma Lomax, is with us this evening. Velma, if you want to wave, there you go. I also saw board vice president, Matt Almaraz, on the call this evening. Matt, if you want to say hi, you'll pop up onto the screen.
Hello, everyone.
There you go. If you say hi, you pop into the screen. So I also saw Sabrina Rodriguez. Trustee Rodriguez, you want to say hi?
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here.
Okay, how about Dr. Dannenberg?
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for being here. Hope you find this information helpful.
And Trustee Callahan.
Hello, thank you.
All right. We also have with us our labor union representatives this evening. Carol Peak. Carol, you want to say hi from VESPA?
Yes, hello, and thank you. Thank you guys for joining.
Great to have you here, Carol. And also our VUEA president, Dan Nelson. Dan, I saw you on there earlier.
I'm here, waving hello. Hi, everybody, glad you're here. Thank you.
Great to have you guys here. I also want to take a minute to thank Marianne Quiroz, who's our communications coordinator, for all the work that she's done putting this webinar together. She's just absolutely stellar at this. And of course, right when I say that, her screen share won't work. So we'll forgive her that this one time and thank her for all of her wonderful work. And also, I want to take some time to thank the rest of the staff and the presenters this evening. It's especially great to see our principals on the call this evening. We know that as community members, as students, as parents, you care a lot more about hearing from the principals than you do about hearing from the rest of us. They're your community representative for us as a district, and they're doing a great job. So we're happy to have them. Also, I did see several other staff members who will be presenting from the district office and our athletic directors from the site. So We're excited to give you some really great news about high school sports coming up this evening. I think you'll be pleased with some of the things you're hearing. So it's great to have Jamal and Sean and Dave on the call with us this evening. So great to have you here. First of all, let me start by saying thank you to all the parents, students, and staff for hanging in there with us this year. We know that it's been an incredibly frustrating year and challenging year for everybody involved. And a lot of us, teachers, parents, staff, administrators, board members have had high school age or secondary age students either currently or as recently as this past year. And we know what it feels like to want our kids to be in class. And we have wanted the same for your students as well. And tonight is a night for very good news. We're really pleased to share with you some important information about secondary school developments. And we're most pleased to share with you, 1, that we are going to reopen, 2, that we're going to reopen soon, and 3, we're going to stay open. I'm very excited about being able to say that right from the get-go. There's a lot going on, and my role tonight is just to give you a bit of context and background for how we got here this evening, but also to be sure that some of the really recent developments that came as late as today up in Sacramento, I can share with you a little bit. Obviously, I haven't had time to analyze all the text of the governor's deal with the state legislature, but I know enough about it to share with the board and with the community this evening that I think you'll be pleased with some of the direction and guidance that we've received that will allow us to and encourage us to more fully open as the spring progresses, but also as we move into next school year. So with that, Dr. Bayless, let's go to the next slide. Just a quick recap. You know that it's been almost a year. I can't believe I'm saying that, but it's been almost a year. And that date rings a bell with me, March 16th, for a very particular reason that I'm not going to share this evening, because it just means I'm going to be another year older in a few days. And I don't really want to think about that, but it's been almost a year. And the board's decision to close for semester 1 during the secondary school, we almost made it to that point before this bill was passed. Not quite, but it was a pretty close estimate. And we've been in distance learning since then, and you know that. Although elementary schools were allowed to open via a waiver program, I just want to make sure that at the outset we say that regardless of the decision that our board made back in the summer, the secondary schools were not afforded the same option. And so I've been fielding many emails about what options we had in terms of reopening our secondary schools for the past several months. And the plain fact is that regardless of testing or the money or the costs or any of those factors, we were not legally able to open once we were in the purple tier. And I know that some of the things that I'm talking about and have talked about can be confusing. So I won't go into a lot of detail because we got a big agenda tonight, but I do want to share with you that it has been incredibly challenging for you and for us to deal with the constant changes that come at us from both the state and local health department and the governor's office. But I feel like the fog is lifting, and I feel like we're moving into a very positive period of time when it comes to reopening. So I know that several weeks ago, the board established a target date to reopen on April 12th. The main reasons for that were that we figured we would be out of the purple and into the red. We're not quite there yet. We're officially still in the purple. Based on one of the metrics, not both, and I'll share those with you in a minute, but we're getting there, and we're fairly confident that we would be in the red by the time the 12th rolls around. And as recently as today, the state passed a law that the legislature passed a law. It's not been signed by the governor that I know of, but this just happened this afternoon, that would require school districts to open just a little bit sooner in order to avail themselves of some pretty significant funding opportunities. So we're planning to adjust our reopening date, and we'll flesh that out a little bit more for you this evening, but more fully at the board meeting on Tuesday when we've had a chance to evaluate exactly what the bill says. But I think that April 1st is right around the corner, and we're very much looking forward to reopening on the 1st in some form in secondary education. So next slide. So I've been referring to the recent developments, and we are guessing that the Senate Bill and Assembly Bill 86 is being referred to as by both terms because it was a mutual agreement between the state assembly and the state board, will be enacted into law as early as tomorrow, meaning it has to be signed by the governor. And some of the major provisions that are, if you could, there we go, are funding to support school reopening, funding to support learning loss and learning loss mitigation. We expect to return in hybrid in-person learning by April 1st. I'm going to talk about that a little bit as we go. The bill also includes fiscal penalties for school districts choosing to reopen and then closing once they're opened. I think that's a good thing because it provides certainty to schools and to districts and clear guidance relative to the expectations. Also, the bill prioritizes vaccines for educators. I have a little bit to share about that later. That's actually already in progress. And in a significant development, there were several measures that were taken out of the bill that I shared with the board most recently that remove hurdles that were included in the early versions of the bill that we're pretty excited about. One of those is that, and those of you who have seen my presentations in the past will remember that the testing cadences that were, meaning the frequency that we were going to be required to test both employees and students did not come with enough money to pay for that, nor the logistical support or the guidelines to manage it. And that those provisions have been removed for the bill, and we're quite pleased with that. It makes it a lot easier for us to open and to manage staying open. Next slide. Okay, so what does that mean for the future? So although the bill requires in-person opening by April 1st, I want to share that it also requires that reopening be implemented to the maximum degree possible. So currently in both elementary and secondary schools, we're reevaluating our space to see if some adjustments to the social distancing provisions might be possible. You'll see a bullet down, the last bullet under the next school year. Fast forward to that and just say that there's some discussion right now about the possibility of reducing the 6-foot limit to 4-foot limit under certain sets of circumstances and pending a safety review. That would obviously help us to fit more students in the room when there are classes that are in the 24 to 26 range. And that is actually the main limitation for why we can't just skip right over the hybrid program in person and go straight to all kids every day. That's not a Ventura Unified decision. I want to be very clear about that. That's a local and state health decision. And even the bill as passed by the legislature today did not address at all the social distancing requirements. I've been checking with the public health department frequently and including today, and the guidance that was updated on the frequently asked questions page on March 3rd basically indicated that the guidelines you see here on this slide are going to remain in effect for the foreseeable future. So we do have, we are going to reassess opportunities to increase in-person instruction at the elementary school, both in terms of the number of kids we can fit in the rooms to see if we can have all day, every day for like kindergartners, first graders, second graders, but also to the degree there are days built into the schedule where in-person instruction is not currently offered. We're looking at that too, to make sure that we are compliant with the requirement in the new law that says you have to offer in-person instruction to the maximum degree possible. So I just wanted to share that with you. Next slide. Some other positive signs pointing to sustainability, not only for now, but in the future, are that our numbers in terms of COVID spread, our case rate and our positivity rate continue to decrease rather dramatically. I have a slide I'm going to show you in a second. And vaccines for all educators by next year should have been completed. We believe that in conjunction with Ventura County Public Health, that all of our employees should have had an opportunity to have their first vaccination this month, and then 21 days after that, their opportunity to get their second vaccination. So our employees should be in a really great place in no later than mid-April. Also, we're very excited to say that SB 86 provides a consistent legal framework that we can count on. I think if you talk to superintendents around the state, they would say we were hoping for something like this probably 6 months ago. It's very challenging to deal with the constantly shifting sands and local metrics, because they vary dramatically, not just from district to district, but from zip code to zip code. This law will allow us to have some firmer footing. I also wanted to mention that I said in my update to the folks in the community, I think it was yesterday, I mentioned that I thought we were going to get some more flexibility, or I was hoping to get some more flexibility based on the fact that both educators and students could potentially be vaccinated at a higher rate. And a couple questions were asked about whether I thought vaccinations for students were going to be a barrier or were going to be required. The answer to that is no, absolutely not. It's just that to the degree we're further along in the vaccination process as a community, then the better chance we have of gaining flexibility on the social distancing requirements. So I just wanted to be very clear about that. Next slide. So here you can see I've showed these slides at most of our board meetings, and I've gotten these out and posted these as often as I can. This is showing that the dramatic increase that led to the surge and the peak here in early January, and then just as dramatic a decrease to where we are at the most recent data set that ended February 20th. And this is reflective of our case rates, which I had listed on the other slide. And then the next slide will show you a similar progression in our positivity rate, which the decline's not been quite so steep, but it's actually down into a tier that is not in the purple right now. So some of our zip codes in Ventura are even in the yellow and the orange. So locally speaking, we're doing very well relative to many areas of the county. That's all good news. Things are trending in the right direction. So I know that there are lots of questions, and our team will be happy to try to answer those questions. We got a long agenda to share with you this evening. And I just wanted to start off by giving you that context and background and saying how pleased I am to be with you this evening and share with you positive news about reopening our schools to in-person instruction to the degree we are able. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Bayless, who's going to lead us into more of the nuts and bolts about what you can expect to see with your students being back in school. So Dr. Bayless, can you take it away?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Rice, and good evening, Ventura. I'm the director for secondary schools, and I'm so pleased that we're talking about secondary reopening starting April 1st. And obviously, thank you to everyone for all their work to help the positivity rates come down. And thanks also to the state legislature for doing what they have done that have legally allowed us to get to this point and talk about reopening. So my primary goal tonight is to talk to you about the structure of our hybrid program. And then I'm going to pass it off to some other people who are going to talk about safety, campus life, and some of the other important aspects of our reopening campaign. So these that you see before you are some of the bell schedules that we have. And there's, I didn't want you to have to kind of look too closely at these, because there is this website that we have. If you go onto our district website, you can click and find your secondary school's specific bell schedule. And there's slight differences between them, but I want to talk about the overall structure of the Bell schedules. First of all, there's a lot of similarities with our current schedule. So first, there are 3 periods daily, except for Wednesdays. They go odd and even, and the periods are roughly 1 hour in length. What we are going to do in our hybrid program, we're going to call it concurrent learning, and that is very similar to what students are experiencing now. All the students in a given period learn together at the same time with their teacher, and we won't have any schedule changes, we won't have any teacher changes, so there will be a smooth transition with your secondary child's schedule into the hybrid environment that we start April 1st. Wednesdays, again, will remain social emotional lesson days. And I know Dr. Rice talked about the goal to be compliant with the law and to be open to the fullest extent possible. And we're looking at those days as well. And all distance learning continues in the afternoon with asynchronous learning, et cetera. So here's where the differences are. We have 2 groups, and many of you know which group you're in because you responded to the survey requesting your preference for if you want to come back as a hybrid in-person on-campus student, either to be an A group, which is a Monday, Tuesday group, or the B group, which is the Thursday, Friday group. The A group, as you can see here, their schedule is as follows: 1, 3, 5, 7 on Monday and 0, 2, 4, 6. Again, not all students have a 0 or 7th period. The B group, they will be on campus on Thursdays and Fridays. And then our full-time distance learning, and there were a few questions in the chat about that. There is still a full-time distance learning option for our secondary students. They will be obviously not on campus either of these days, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, but they will be with the students in a concurrent live stream Zoom that I'll explain a little bit later. One key thing is that physical education, because of the fact that physical education is going to be out on the field or in the gym, away from our ability, teachers' ability to Zoom with the distance learning students, those students will not be Zooming in. Those students will all be continuing with essentially their independent study PE program. I'll talk a little bit more about that in our secondary hybrid model. Again, that keyword that we're using is concurrent. So we have Zoomies and Roomies, as nationally they've been come to be called. Our Zoomies are the students that Zoom into us, and our Roomies are the ones that are with us in person. So for example, on Monday, it's an A group day. Our A group students are live in person, period 1. There they are. And our B group students, there are Zoomies for the day. They're at home and they're Zooming in. They're also in the classroom, Zooming into that classroom. And then our C group students are the students that never come in person on campus to school. They Zoom in along with what we call the off group students. So on Monday and Tuesday, the off group students are the B group students. So the B and the C group kids Zoom in during the A group days. And then on the B group days, the A and the C groups Zoom in. But you can see here, they're all together. It's all concurrent happening together. And that's one of the reasons why we can have all of our students' schedules remain the same, teachers remain the same for a smooth transition into hybrid. The instructional pace is going to continue at the same rate as in pre-April 1st. I apologize for that typo there. So the same Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday schedule of instruction and pacing of instruction will remain the same in our hybrid. So what your students have come to know all year will continue in terms of instructional pace. One other key feature about this program, this concurrent program, is that if there's a hybrid student who needs to stay home per our safety protocols, because we are asking students and families every day to do a self-screening of themselves for COVID symptoms, and they can stay at home and just Zoom in. So even if you're an A group student and it's your day to come in school, if you're not feeling well, stay home, Zoom in. All those Zoom links will be made available to you, and you can learn alongside your counterparts, your cohort, your fellow students, and your normal teacher. One of the key features about our schedule, for example, on Monday, is that in between each period, not only is there a traditional passing period, and we're going to have lunch, and breakfast offered. There's going to be an additional 10 minutes at the end of the period where the teacher will work just with the Zoomies after all the roomies, after all the in-person students leave the room. And the goal here is to help our students, the off-group students who are Zooming in and our pure distance learning students who are Zooming in, to have a dedicated time at the end to ask teacher questions, to clarify anything. And this is to reduce the need for those students to check in later. They're certainly welcome to, again, check in office hours with our teachers, but that 10 minutes is something that we're really excited about in the schedule to try to help kids connect with their teachers in the moment in the same way they might stay after class really quick, ask that question, get clarification before they go home and do their homework. Let's talk a little bit about our one-to-one, which is students to Chromebooks or devices. So every student has a Chromebook that they will bring onto campus. And this is not so that we can simply replicate what we're doing now on campus. We're really excited not to do that. However, all of our curriculum is digital now, as well as all of the work submission is digital. So students will continue using Canvas. We still have instructional minutes and learning that will take place asynchronously for students in the afternoon, even though we will be meeting with our hybrid students in person. But when students come onto campus, we want them to have their Chromebooks with them. And if you don't have a VUSD Chromebook, it has to be a VUSD device so that it can connect to our network on campus. The school sites will be reaching out to you to make sure that you get one prior to the start of our hybrid program on April 1st. So once again, every student has to have a VUSD issued device. So fully charged, bring your cable as well, just in case you need to give your Chromebook a little extra juice during the school day. And Canvas will still be in use. However, it will be used differently when in the classroom. Because of social distancing, we still want our students to interact with one another. And so there'll be times when the teacher asks students that are in person, our roomies, to interact with their Zoomies in kind of a traditional, maybe think, pair, share, but we obviously are going to keep those desks separate for safety and for the physical distancing that's required. In terms of addressing learning gaps, I'm happy to introduce Dr. Rickard, or if she's willing, I'm happy to take this slide as well. Dr. Rickard, are you on the call? Tell you what, I'll take it away right now. So we're really proud of the fact that we have many small groups currently. Those will continue once we start, because the vast majority of those are, of course, in the afternoon. And that includes, obviously, all of our sports and athletic teams. We count those as small groups too. Those are an important part of our instructional day for students, and we're very pleased that athletics is being given greater flexibility as well. And I'll save that for the athletic directors to direct.
Dr. Bayless, I am on. I'm sorry, I was having technical difficulties. I apologize. Not a problem. So
take it away.
As Dr. Bayless was sharing, we're continuing with the small groups and are excited about that. We're looking at 3 summer learning opportunities that I'll be talking about a little bit later that I think you will be interested in, to include some enrichment and some fun activities and to connect kids with what makes being in school fun. So I'll save that for a little bit later, but we are definitely very concerned about any credit recovery and learning loss mitigation, and look forward to serving you in that aspect. So stay tuned for a few more slides down, and I will be sharing more information.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rickard. In terms of preparing your students, our orientation on April 1st, more information is going to be coming out about that, but that's going to be a great day to invite especially our 6th graders and our 9th graders onto campus for the first time, unless they've been on campus for small groups or athletics. And the classroom numbers can be found in students' queue schedules. And in terms of student groups, so remember that A group is an on-campus Monday, Tuesday group. That B group is the Thursday, Friday on-campus group, and the C group is full-time distance learning. If you made a request to be in a specific group that you would like to change, please call your school site. Some of those changes, many of those changes can still be accommodated. And we will be sending out an email to, about mid-month, toward the end of the month, to everyone stating which group you are in, so you'll know exactly what day to come on campus if you are an A or B hybrid student. So be looking for that in your email inboxes. And obviously, I just want to reiterate on behalf of all the secondary team and all of the secondary principals here and the teachers, we're so excited to have you back, to have our students back. So we're thrilled. And if there's anything we can do to be of service to you, please contact your school site. And if there's something that can't be resolved at that level, please feel free to give me a call, Greg Bayless at the district office, and I'm happy to try to serve you there. So I'm going to turn it over back to Marie Ann, who is going to introduce our next guest.
Thank you, Dr. Bayless. I believe up now we've got Mr. Elsenbaumer from our facilities team, our amazing facilities team, who have really been working so hard to make sure that we have ourselves socially distanced and clean. So Bill, are you there?
I am here.
Take it away.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. If you look at this slide, this is an example of one of our middle schools at Balboa, of some of the furniture arranging and what we can do at 6 feet distancing. The slide up to the left is a little fuzzy, but it basically shows the room with furniture removed, and that's about how much in the lower slide you see below it that would have to be stored somewhere. We also arrange the rooms with leaving all the furniture in the room, and the actual desk give a 6-foot barrier between each seat if you skip every other one. So that's a good example right there of middle school. Next slide, please. This is Bueno High School, and it's a typical classroom and also a science room, which was pretty difficult to do with all the lab stations, but we were able to work it out. We get 18 students at 6 feet apart, also leaving furniture in the science room, using science stations for students. And then the seats are right next to each other, would not be filled. They would just be empty seats, but it's just a store of furniture in the rooms. Okay, next slide, please. Our custodial staff has been working very hard using all the protective PPE to do the daily cleaning of every classroom, which will amount to emptying trash cans, trash barrels, cleaning liners, fill soap, towel dispensers, replace disinfectant bottles. They'll be in the classrooms, sweep and vacuum floors completely, moving desks and chairs and getting in the corners, wet mopping spills, cleaning and disinfecting all teachers' desk and students' desk, frequently touched and disinfecting and cleaning frequently high-touched areas, chair backs, chair arms, door handles, light switches, sink handles, tables, desk. They'll be picking up all the trash in the room. And then twice a week, all the rooms will be dusted, flat surfaces, cobwebs, dust vents, dust mini blinds, things of that nature, blow sidewalks down the area. And then once a week, if needed, wet mop floor, window clean, squeegee. Due to the more intense cleaning that we're doing in the room and disinfecting, it's changed our schedules a little, and we're focusing a lot more energy on those everyday cleaning, deep cleaning. Next slide, please. This is an example that you'll see in every classroom that has a checklist to show what the custodians have done every evening and every day. And they will check those off so that the instructors know when they're in their classroom that it didn't get missed the night before or that afternoon. Just some we came up with, and we have them everywhere in the district. Next slide, please. We will be fogging the rooms and the offices and the restrooms, the entire campuses every evening. We're using a product called Pure, very, very safe. On our website, you can look up all the MSDS on it, but basically it is citric acid with silver. It's food safe. It's a very, very light misting fog that they do in the room that just attracts to the surfaces and disinfects and kills viruses. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, all of our sites have been gone over by a licensed HVAC contractors that we brought in to check all of our heating and ventilation systems to make sure they're working at their optimum level. We've gone through, made all the repairs. We still have a couple that we're trying to finish in-house before we contract that work out to hit the deadline, and very few that are left. We've also This is all based on the American Society of Heating and Refrigeration and Air Conditioning engineers who design these systems. We have them working at their peak performance. We're also, the picture on the left, you'll see where we put labels so nobody blocks the airflow, that's the return air that goes back into the heating and cooling system, so that nothing gets put in front of it accidentally and blocks that flow to keep optimum airflow in the room. We've also taken thermostats and programmed them to run from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. in fan mode constantly to turn over fresh air in the rooms for ventilation. Okay, and that is it for facilities.
Thank you so much, Mr. Elsenbaumer. Now I'm going to turn it right over to Mr. Reynolds to talk a little bit about safety. Again, a huge thank you to Mr. Reynolds and our risk management team. They have worked so hard since COVID began to ensure that we are safe and that we're following all the regulations. And we really could not have done this without you and your team. So Mr. Reynolds, it's your turn.
Thank you very much, Marianne. Hi, everybody. Glad you could be with us this evening. I'll go over just a couple of safety items over the next couple of pages that will be applicable to all the secondary schools. So the first topic is health screening. And all of Ventura Unified's secondary schools will be using a combination of at-home health screening. Dr. Bayless referred to that earlier, and there will be more information going out on that from our Parent Square communication as we get closer to returning. That'll be using a combination of temperature taking depending upon the school site. All the students will be screened in at least one, if not both of those ways. And the principals are currently working on the specific details for their specific site, which will be shared with all the parents prior to reopening. Masks are required of both students and staff whenever they're on campus. We can wear cloth masks. We can wear a mask like the young lady in the picture is wearing, like a health mask. They have to cover the nose and mouth, and they can't be a gaiter or a mask with like a valve in it. Okay, a couple of questions about potential quarantine or exposure. So when do we quarantine a classroom or a school? Fortunately, we've had really good success and a track record with our elementary schools. I think it's a real tribute to everybody who's worked so hard to stay safe and to follow the protocols. If we have one positive case of a staff or a student, that doesn't necessarily mean that we'll quarantine that room or that school. Myself and our health services department work very closely with Ventura County Public Health, and we report all positive cases, either student or staff, to Ventura County Public Health, and we work with them regarding any possible closures that need to happen. Closures or quarantine will be more likely if we get more than one student in a classroom. And again, we'll work with Ventura County Public Health on if we need to do that. How will you be notified if your child has been exposed? If there's a positive case at a school site, be it a staff member, a student, or anyone else on campus, a vendor or anything like that, myself, I send a notice to all staff, and our health services department notifies parents. If a staff member or a student has been defined as a close contact, meaning within 6 feet or less for 15 minutes or more, that person will personally be contacted and we'll discuss that situation. There is a chance that that particular person might have to quarantine in that circumstance when they're a confirmed close contact. Next slide, please. Mr. Elsenbaumer previously talked a little bit about a lot of the things that had been done in the classrooms to make them safe with moving desks and stuff like that. In addition to those items, additional PPE steps we've taken are there's plexiglass shields in the classrooms for the teacher to use to help with that physical distancing between the teachers and the students. We've installed hand sanitizer stations like the one you see in the photo in every classroom that students can leave as they come in the room and as they leave. And in addition to all the cleaning and disinfecting that Bill showed with the charts and the schedules earlier, every classroom has had additional paper towels and a bottle of district approved disinfectant put in there. So if a staff member wants to do some additional cleaning, they're not required to do it. And again, the rooms are already cleaned as Bill described. That is an option for them to do as well. And I think that's it for me, Marianne. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reynolds. Now I'd like to call upon Principal Cervantes. She's going to talk a little bit about what campus life will look like when we return. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Good evening, everyone. So entry and exit points will vary by school campuses and traffic patterns, but we do have appropriate drop-off and pick-up access points that will create a smooth flow of traffic. Campus supervision, school staff will be positioned to support this effort and equipped with proper PE, for example, student masks if a student forgets one, and ensuring that they have a stress-free first day and creating welcoming them. In addition to the spacing of desks, our hybrid schedules are being balanced to ensure proper classroom safety based on social distancing guidelines. Teachers are also in the process of obtaining technology, training, and optimal classroom setups to support their current teaching. Campus life, this will vary by campus, but most secondary campuses are open and big, ensuring that we will be able to provide that 6-foot distancing while providing students access to campus in an as normal as possible experience. Passing periods will be supervised with social distancing and creative ideas that serve as reminders to our students, in addition to front loading and reviewing expectations with our students and our families. Specific school site information will be provided to all our families and students prior to that first day. Small groups will continue as we return to in-person, and also many sites will have ACES available as an additional support service to our students.
Good evening. I'm Karen Manise, Director of Food and Nutrition. I'm letting you know how we are planning to serve both breakfast and lunch daily in the secondary sites. We will offer grab and go type meals, breakfast during the morning break time, and lunch at the end of the day for students to take off campus. When students are not on campus, they also are entitled to meals. And we will be offering meals for 3-day for those who are in hybrid learning and 5-day meal packs for those that are in distance learning. And those are available Wednesdays at all elementary sites only from 11:30 to 1 o'clock. Meals are free to everyone until the end of this school year, and that's for children 18 and under. And thank you. I'm going to pass it over to Mr. Weiberg, Director of Transportation.
Hello, good evening, everybody. If you can go to the next slide there, please, Dr. Bayless. Thank you. So just a little bit about buses and transportation. Obviously, masks are required as well in school, but they also are required on the bus at all times. We will not have school personnel available at each bus stop. So we ask that the parents talk to their children, let them know to make sure that they're socially distancing and wearing masks while at the bus stop. Temperatures will be taken as the bus arrives. And then if anybody is sick and found with a temperature, if their parent is there at the bus stop, we will ask the parent to take their child home. If the parent is not there, we will isolate the child on the bus and then take them to the school and take them to the care area as they get to the school and let them know that they did have a temperature. Windows will be open on the bus, so it could be cold, although we're coming into the warmer time of year right now. So, but it could be cold in the morning. So please make sure your child brings a sweater or jacket. Some have complained that their feet are cold because they may have open toe shoes. So keep that in mind as well, that the bus can get pretty chilly, and that is to have the air circulating on the bus to lessen the chance of a COVID exposure. We are not allowed to have a big bottle of sanitizer, hand sanitizer on the bus because it is flammable and CHP will not let us have a big hand sanitizer bottle to sanitize every child's hand as they get on the bus. However, your child can bring a little bottle in their purse or backpack, and they can use that. We are just not allowed to provide that on the bus. So we encourage your children to bring a little bottle of hand sanitizer. Children are allowed to sit one per seat on the bus unless they are siblings or from the same household. They can sit together in one seat. So our biggest buses can hold about 26 people compared to 84 back before COVID. So buses don't hold too many people anymore. Even the small buses only can hold 6 to 8 kids. So buses are disinfected. After the morning run, they're disinfected again by the afternoon run with our pure disinfectant that we use. And then we go again in the afternoon and use the fogger machine that Bill had talked about. And we fog the bus again to make sure any surfaces that were not wiped down by the bus driver have a chance to get the fogger on them. So next slide. Okay, so who can ride the bus? It's a big question. So right now, as you sign up for either hybrid A or B, there is a box that you need to sign up that if you do request transportation. And just to make it clear, just because you request transportation doesn't mean that everybody qualifies. So there is a way that we determine who can ride the bus. And the first people that can ride the bus and first priority are the students that have transportation listed in their IEP, if they have an IEP. And so we will route those children first. Children that live outside of a walking boundary, they are eligible to ride the bus. And a walking boundary for middle school, grades 6 through 8, if you live farther than 2 miles away from the school, then you are eligible to ride the bus. For high school, grades 9 through 12, if you live farther than 3 miles away from the school, then you are eligible to ride the bus. Who does not qualify to ride on the bus are families that live outside of the school district and also children that are attending different schools in their home school or a school of choice. They are not qualified to ride the bus. And we don't know how many children are riding right now. And as I stated before, the capacity is reduced. And so our priority first is to do the children that have the IEP, and then depending on availability and space, we will be able to route the children on the general ed buses. And not to worry though, for the elementary students, we were able to get everybody that requested transportation that did qualify onto the buses. So we are thinking that the same thing's going to happen when we get the list for for secondary schools. So that is what I have. I'll turn the time over to Mr. Conans.
Thank you, Ari. In-person special education assessments for students for initial eligibility determinations and triennial reevaluation and progress monitoring will continue at all levels. Elementary to middle to high school, and high school to post-secondary transition IEP and 504 meetings are currently in the process of being conducted and will continue. We look forward to meeting with you as we plan together for the next school year with those, so please watch for invitations to those. Families can expect to receive updated distance learning plans to help clarify the hows of receiving special education services under this return model. Special education, SAI, and related services small groups will continue to be available with an eye always on continuing to add more offerings. And we in special education are working alongside all of our district departments in designing this year's extended school year offerings with the goal of an expanded and robust program. Much more information on this will be coming toward the end of this month. And our Special Education District Advisory Committee, our CDAC parent group, has continued to meet monthly since February 2020 and will continue. And now to our Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, Dr. Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Conans. Good evening, everybody. And so right now on this call, we have our three esteemed athletic directors. We have Mr. Sean Stropo from Buena High School. We have Mr. Dave Hess from Ventura. We have Mr. Jamal Brown from Foothill. I can tell you right now that we are participating in cross country. We are participating, we're participating right now in tennis, and we're going to be participating in several other sports. But I think it might be better for our athletic directors to kind of take the lead on this, and then I can fill in the gaps behind them. So in terms of multi-sport athletes, Mr. Stropel, Mr. Hess, Mr. Brown, do you guys want to take that, or do you want me to take that? I guess I'm going to take that. So in terms of multi-sport athletes, what was happening before was most of our sports were not being allowed to be played due to the California Department of Public Health guidelines. And now that has opened up. We received news today that even our indoor sports will be playing. So any athletes that are multi-sport athletes that now their sport is available to play, they can now start practicing with that sport. The next question is basically what I just said in terms of anticipating more sports opening. Basically, just about, I would say about 95% of the sports are now available. Indoor volleyball, indoor basketball got the go-ahead today from the state. Football has begun practicing along with softball and baseball. And so it looks like we're going to have, this is just wonderful news. We're going to have all of our student athletes out there playing. And what a wonderful thing for our student athletes and for our parents, and, you know, especially for our seniors to be able to participate in what they love their senior year. If your child wants to try out, they go to register my athlete. Your athletic director at your school will have that information, and or you can email the coach or the athletic director at your school for that information. What I did want to share with everybody is, at the direction of Dr. Rice, several months ago, we put together an athletics task force. Now, that was a really, really excellent move by our superintendent, because we have been talking about this for months, even when the only thing allowed was conditioning, and we were setting up the guidelines on conditioning per the California Department of Public Health and Ventura County Public Health. I feel that all those discussions and everything that went into that is what's going to make this transition to all these sports being available to our student athletes right now that much more streamlined in the Ventura Unified School District. I do want everybody to know out there that our coaches have been working tirelessly. Our student athletes have been working tirelessly. They deserve so much credit for the perseverance and the persistence going through conditioning. At one point, it was only through Zoom. It was only virtual, which was quite the interesting interesting do by our coaches. And our athletic directors have worked just like our coaches, probably harder than they ever have before, trying to get all these contests scheduled with the Pacific View League and the other leagues that we work with. I did want to say that also on our athletics task force, it was not just the high school principals, not just the high school assistant principals of athletics, and not just the athletic directors. It was also our superintendent, Dr. Rice. It's also board vice president, Mr. Almaraz, and our director of risk management, Mr. Reynolds, and our general counsel, Anthony Ramos, and of course, our director of secondary curriculum instruction, Dr. Greg Bayless, who you heard from earlier. So I guess the message is this was a total district push to continue to keep our student athletes connected to school. I do have to give a lot of credit beyond the athletic directors to our coaches, because our coaches were the ones that kept pushing, that their students need to be involved, their students need to be connected to school, and it would really be good for their social emotional health and wellness. And again, a lot of credit to everybody involved. If there are any questions, you can put them in the chat. I will answer them, or anybody else on the call that's on the panel that feels qualified to answer them will answer them. But I guess the last thing I want to say is we are so excited And I did want to say today we found out that April the 16th will be the Buenaventura football game. And I know it sounds crazy to say April 16th will be the Buenaventura football game, but it's happening and we can't be more excited. And that game will be at Buena High School on the 16th of April. So kudos to everybody involved and play ball. That's all I can say.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. We're going to turn it over to Dr. Rickard. And for those Buenaventura fans, we are looking at trying to live stream for you because we know we may not have fans in the stands, but you won't miss that game. We will make sure of it. So Dr. Rickard, you're up.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kuros. So again, I'd like to share some of our planned summer learning opportunities with you. In addition to a robust traditional summer school experience, we plan to have in June 3 weeks of small groups and online credit recovery for our students in high school. I'll come back to the regular summer school in a minute. After that period, though, in August 2nd to 13th, we hope to have a sort of a camp type experience for our students, 10 days of and I'm making these up, so don't quote me, sort of like an international cuisine camp or how to build a skateboard or something fun, a number of these to enrich and engage our students and make some learning fun as they transition to a new school year and full-time learning. But then going back to our summer session, which is July 6th through July 30, this would be this year for current kindergarten through current grade 11, and also our special education extended school year. More information will be coming out on all of these programs in the next couple of weeks. Some questions that we've been fielding already, so I thought I'd field them again on here, is that high school students will be able to take one credit recovery course online during that June 14th through July 2nd session. And then they would be able to take 2 courses during the July session, as we will have an AM and a PM session for them. And those 2 courses could be either credit recovery or enrichment. I'm hoping that we can have some CTE, which is career technical education courses, art courses, other courses that our high school students need and want to take, in addition to credit recovery. And we also hope to have some initial credit courses. So for example, if I want to take a class and I haven't taken it before, but I needed to graduate, I'm hoping that we have a few of those on our menu also for you. Our courses are going to be hybrid and distance learning to accommodate our families. And as Ms. Quiros put in her answer to one of our families earlier on, registration should be available around April 1st. Hoping for before that, but just want to make sure that we have all our information correct and accurate for you, so that you only have to go through the registration process one time and not get frustrated with the process. So very excited to have students, super excited that we're going to have a summer school program that is going to be inviting and enriching, and I'm excited for the kids and excited for us. And now I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Bova, who is going to speak to you about the class of 2021 celebration plans. Mr. Bova.
Thank you, Dr. Rickard. I just wanted to point out before I start that Dr. Rickard is also involved in the end of year celebrations, and she is the contact person for you for any of the celebrations for kindergarten, 5th grade, and 8th grade. And I'll be the contact person for the district for any of the high school end of the year celebrations. So I did want to preface my comments first by saying that we are dealing with, we're still dealing with many constraints in terms of these end of the year activities. And we are still under the, as Mrs. Quiros said earlier, we're under restrictions where we cannot have large gatherings and we have to adhere to social distancing. So those are all things that we are working with in terms of constraints, but we are gonna, darn it, we're going to do the best we can to get the most meaningful things for our kids and out of the box thinking to try and bring as much fun and memories to our senior class this year. We did have the benefit of doing this last year. I don't know if it's a benefit or not, but we did this last year and we gained a lot of experience on these processes. And so we've gotten to jump on this a little bit earlier. And And so I want to just take you through some of the activities and kind of the order they're going to happen in. I also did want to point out, I forgot that there was a survey that went out yesterday that went out to all the parents in the district, as well as the same survey will go out to students through their high schools. And it may have already gone out, I'm not sure, but it will be going out in the next couple of days. If not, soliciting your input, ideas, information, and also your involvement. We want to hear from parents and students and get them involved and helping us with these activities. So real quickly, I want to take you through the timeline. These are kind of, like I said, in the order of how they will happen. After spring break, we are going to kick off, as we did last year, some tangible recognition for our students, and that will include yard signs, bumper stickers, etc. In the month of May, we will have a month of recognition for our academic signings, for our students that are going off to an academy or a training or going abroad. We'll do some recognition of those students in May mostly through social media, and hopefully on campus as well in small groups, so we can have that individual recognition in front of their peers. The slide has jumped to the next slide for some reason. Is everybody hearing me? There we go. Thank you. So the academic signing. And then one of the things we didn't have last year that we're hoping to have this year, and we believe we can do it, is that to have a senior barbecue activity and yearbook signing, which was something that did not happen at all last year. And so we believe with the current situation, with the current constraints, the current protocols, that we can pull this off in a safe way for our students. Another one that we did not do last year that was going to be very tough to pull off this year, and they'll probably our hardest one, is prom. But we have some very smart people that are very creative, and we're again trying to figure out ways that we could possibly do that in June, so that our seniors only could participate in some kind of experience like that at the end of the year. We're going to have a virtual senior awards event again this year that will be streamed through a professional vendor here in town. A virtual graduation ceremony, which we were handling in-house this year, where students will get a chance to hear their peers speak and hear from the superintendent, the principal, and those types of things. And then we are planning, as of right now, as I said earlier, because of the constraints in terms of large group gatherings, we are in the process of working on having a drive-through graduation that will happen at City Hall again. We did this last year. It was very, very well received. It was a great day, and the families really enjoyed it. And that's what we're planning on doing again come June. So that is the high school. Just real quick, and like I said, Dr. Rickard is your contact. We will have the normal type celebrations or type of activities for kindergarten, grade 5, and grade 8, which included last year drive-through celebrations, some goodies for those students, and some online and social recognition as well. But so more information to come. And like I said, our team has already been meeting. Our lead team has been meeting for about 3 weeks now. And like I said, we would love to have other input. Please fill out the survey. Please contact me if you have any questions. And if I can't answer it, I'll get you back to your school site. So thank you. And I'm going to turn this back over to Mrs. Quiros.
Thank you so much. And for those of you that are trying to fill that survey out for your seniors, please be sure that you are logged into their VUSD Google account, Gmail account. That will allow you to access that so that we only get information for our VUSD from our VUSD families. The parent and the student can both fill one out on that same account. If we can go to the next slide, please. I am the last presenter for the evening before we do a couple more Q&A for you. Communications, as you know, we've got Parent Square now, and we are doing our very best to make sure that we can get the communications out to you in a timely manner, but not every minute. So the campus and the district will be using this method to get a hold of you. We recommend, if you have not done so yet, go to parentsquare.com and sign up for your account. You can also download the Parent Square mobile app, and I highly recommend that to everyone. Get you the information as quickly as possible. Next slide. When you log into Parent Square, you will see on the top right-hand corner your name. If you go to the My Account button, this notification settings area pops up. And there, next slide, please. you will find the ability to sign up either for no email, instant email, or a digest at the end of the day. You can also do that with your text messages and the mobile app. So I highly recommend that when you go into Parent Square, you find your name, you click on My Account, then you'll go into this notification settings and you'll be able to set up everything here so that you really can get the information that you want the way that you want it. Next slide, please. Okay, so Dr. Bayless, can you please stop sharing your screen? We're going to go ahead and answer a few Q&As that have come up over and over again. If you still have a question, please put that in the Q&A now. We've asked our panelists here to stay on a little bit longer tonight. I know that we advertised 5:30 to 6:30, but we always have the backup plan. So everyone here is ready to stay just a little bit longer to answer your questions. Dr. Bayless, if you could just go over one more time whether or not a distance learning option will be available to those students and families who wish to remain on distance learning for the spring, and how might that look in the fall for those that really distance learning worked well for them?
So just to be clear, Ms. Kiddos, this is a question about will distance learning be available in the fall, not whether or not
in the spring
and
possibly in the fall.
Okay, in the spring, distance learning absolutely is an option. And I posted in the chat a few times as these questions come up that you can contact your school site's front office. That's the best way to make a switch, or to, at this point, if you feel like you need to confirm the group, although we will send out group confirmations. And when I mean group, attendance groups A, B, or C. So the C is the distance learning only group. Those confirmations will be sent out at the end of this month. But if you, in our survey a few months ago, selected hybrid and you wish to change to distance learning or vice versa, please call your school site front office. As far as distance learning next year, we're absolutely looking at ways to continue distance learning options for students for whom it worked well. Even prior to COVID, we had distance learning options. We have El Camino, which is a fantastic independent study middle college. And we had a flex program that served students on a pure or hybrid distance learning model. So we will continue to do that and also look to expand it in the fall.
Great, thank you. And Dr. Bayless, I'm not sure if this is you or for Principal Cervantes, but when should people expect to hear if they're in the A group or the B group, meaning the Monday, Tuesday, or the Thursday, Friday group? They did sign up a while back. We were waiting. If you could just.
Sure, I can answer that. We will send out email confirmations. Unfortunately, in our system in Q, because it's a new feature in Q, it's not visible to parents through Parent Connect or Student Connect, unfortunately. So we're going to generate an email and it'll go out to all parents at the end of this month. We know that some parents have been reached out to by their site asking to move them from A to B, because we had more requests for A. And so we had to ask to see if some parents were willing to move to group B. Thank you to all the parents who were willing to do that, because we're trying to get the numbers of our A group kids and our B group kids under those classroom capacity maximums. So that will be coming shortly. I think Dr. Davis has a hand up.
Yes, I do. I just wanted to correct something I said earlier. The indoor sports have not been cleared to practice. They were cleared from the state, but we have to get guidance from CDPH and VCPH when they'll be allowed to practice indoors. So that would likely come sometime next week. I just wanted to clear that up for everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Dr. Rice, I believe you have something.
Yeah, also on that point, Greg, we have some staff on board, counselors, and the question becomes, for those parents who would like to switch the cohort of their kid or the model of delivery for their kid, who should they call at the sites? And maybe we can encourage our principals to reach out to their communities and give them a specific name and number, so they're not all descending upon the counselors or the office manager or whomever.
Yeah, that's a great point. Principals, if you can send that out through Parent Square about who to contact. Counselors can't change that because it happens in queue and it's only by virtue of a certain permission. So that happens in the front office. So yes, please, principals, if you can send out contact at each of your sites to let parents know who to reach out to make those changes.
Thank you. And for our athletic directors, can you speak a little bit about spectators? Everyone now is hearing that we're going to go back to sports. sports moms like myself want to go to the games. Can you talk a little bit? There is a lot of talk about the fact that the guidelines talked about 4 members of a household that could go and watch those sports. However, we also realize not every venue is the same size. So if you could talk a little bit to that, Mr. Hess, Mr. Stropel.
Yeah, I'll take a stab at that. We're working on that right now. The state guidance did say that 4 members of the immediate family can attend an athletic event. And we think that for events that are going to be held in large venues like the stadium, that will be workable. We will not be able to fit that many people in on a more enclosed space like a pool deck. And so we're working on that guidance right now. And the other thing that we're trying to do is to coordinate with our partners in the Pacific View League. Most of our games, not all, but most of our games are going to be with those Oxnard schools, Rio Mesa, Oxnard High School, Pacifica, and Channel Islands. And we want to try and have the same, or at least very similar protocols for spectators, so that a spectator that goes to a game at say Buena or Ventura or Foothill, well, Foothill will be different because they're not in our league, but Buena or Ventura, and then can expect the same protocols when they go to a game that their kids playing in at say Oxnard or at Rio Mesa. So we do not have a definite answer on that yet, but we're hoping to have something in place soon, obviously before we start playing these contests.
Thank you, Mr. Hess. And Dr. Rice, I see your hand up.
I was just, maybe Dave can just take this one from me. There was a question in the chat a couple times about how incoming 9th graders can access tryout periods at the 3 high schools.
Yeah, it's an excellent question. And it's this time of year, we get that question every year, COVID or not. Most of our sports will have tryouts in the summer. Now, we couldn't do that last summer because of the pandemic. Right now, the way things are going, it's looking very likely that we'll be able to go back to a regular tryout schedule in the summer. That's usually for the fall and winter sports. Most of our spring sports do not do a tryout in the summer. They will have a tryout during the school year. It's usually around early to mid-November. But we are expecting that we will be able to have tryouts this summer. Right now, if you're a parent of a middle schooler and who's coming to high school next year, you're probably going through the registration process right now. And the counselors have an online form that's available for your child to fill out that we call it the athletic interest survey. And then that information is given to the coaches, and then the coaches can use that to contact the interested middle schoolers that are coming into high school and let them know when the tryout is going to be, with all that kind of information. I should also tell you that the CIF prevents us from contacting you right now. If you are currently a middle schooler and you're wondering why the high school coach hasn't called you to say, hey, are you coming to Ventura or Buena or whatever? It's because we can't. However, we can do something on the 1st of May. And so I don't want to speak for Buena or Foothill, but I know that at Ventura, we're going to have an athletic information night. Right now it's scheduled for May the 4th. And that'll probably be on Zoom this year. But it will be an opportunity for parents to come and ask their questions, but also connect with the coaches of the sport that their kid is interested in. And then they can really get some detailed information about that. And yeah, hopefully that answers that question, and feel free to email, any of us if it's a specific question for your school that you'll be attending next year.
Thank you. Go ahead.
This is Sean Stropel from Buena High School, and David, that was an excellent answer. And I just want to say on Buena's end, we will also be having that same type of informational night after May 1st. And you can contact athletic director's office at any time for myself or Noemi Cruz, our athletic assistant, and we'll help you in any way possible.
Mr. Brown, anything to add for Foothill?
Yeah, same thing for Foothill. Sorry guys, I'm currently at our first water polo match right now, so hence the mask on right now, but it's a very tight contest right now. But in terms of Foothill athletics, we'll have a same informational night sometime after May 1st. And I would just suggest to incoming 9th graders that they just check our website on a regular basis, foothilltechnology.org, the athletics page, and we will get that posted once we figure out exactly which date we're going to do that on.
Thank you, Mr. Brown, and go Dragons. Miss Principal
Thank you.
Cervantes, can you please speak a little bit to how the passing periods will work again, whether or not there's going to be time for students to socialize? What is recess? Well, I guess at the secondary you don't have recess, right? How is lunch? Well, lunch, you won't be there. So a little bit about how you're going to keep people moving along, right? There's a lot of questions about that right now.
So this is an ongoing conversation that we're having in our reopening meetings. Every site is different. We're also looking at the numbers of for each of our groups. So that's still a logistic that we're working on, but we're definitely going to front load our families and review the expectations with our students. We have nice big campuses and we want to provide student access to different areas on campus to try to make it feel as normal as possible. So I know, for example, at Data, we've been walking our campus, looking at areas and creative ways that we can maybe place like reminders on the ground to keep students socially distanced, but where they could still be you know, be able to engage in conversations with, you know, their fellow classmates and students. So this, you know, it's going to look different. It's going to vary site by site, and we will definitely provide that information to our families in prepping for that first day reopening, so everyone feels comfortable with how we're going to proceed with that. And stakeholder input, you know, talking to our teachers, seeing the level of support that we have for supervision will also help us place staff on campus.
Thank you so much. Mr. Reynolds and Mr. Elsenbaumer, can you just speak very briefly about, again, the cleaning that's going to happen to the desks and those types of things? Will that be in between classes or only at night? And Mr. Reynolds, if you can talk to whether or not students can bring their own sanitizer, hand sanitizer, and can they bring their own disinfecting wipes for their desks and tables? Mr. Elsenbaumer?
Yes, the cleaning will happen after the school session's over for the day. They will come in there and sanitize, clean everything and sanitize everything after classes are over for the day.
Marianne, you were asking about hand sanitizer and disinfecting wipes?
Yes, whether or not they can bring their own and use that on their desks.
So state law actually prohibits people from using disinfecting wipes unless they've had the required training. We're not certainly going to be searching backpacks for disinfecting wipes or hand sanitizer, something like that. If a child wants to bring hand sanitizer, as long as it's not creating a problem, it's not a toxic or safety issue, it's most likely not going to be a big deal. As Bill said, we're going to be cleaning the desks. As both Bill and I mentioned before, there will be hand sanitizer in every room. So parents shouldn't feel obligated or need to send hand sanitizer. A student can literally sanitize their hands as they go into a classroom and as they exit.
Thank you. Dr. Rice, if you might want to take this one, possibly Mr. Bova or possibly Mr. Reynolds. There's some chat about whether or not we would be able, instead of doing a City Hall graduation, which we did get a lot of great feedback on last year, if we would be doing this in person on the football fields, and what's the likelihood of those limits to gathering being lifted so that that could happen?
Yeah, I appreciate the question and I get it. There were some rather pointed comments in the chat about we need to do better, and I get it. Like I just had a senior graduate last year and so did Trustee Rodriguez, and you know, we want better. We want better. The problem is that large crowd gatherings are not allowed right now. They're not legal. So until that happens, we have to proceed with planning the best possible event that we can. In order to do that, I know that Joe Bova and Dr. Rickard and Eric Reynolds have been working with our site principals to do that. And keep in mind, we could wait and see if things change, but we do need time to engage with vendors in contracts and make purchases. And there's a lot of work that goes into planning these events. So we started early to make sure we had the best of something, and that knowing that if it changed in sufficient time, we could always regroup. But right now it's just simply not allowed.
Thank you. And I do want to let everyone know there was a couple more questions about when this recording will be available, as some joined us late. This will be available tomorrow as soon as I'm able to download it, get it on our YouTube site, and I will put that link on our homepage at www.venturausd.org. Dr. Rice, I'm going to turn it over to you for any last comments, any last questions that you'd like us to answer, and then we will wrap up for the evening.
Thank you. You caught me off guard. I've been typing I'm getting cramps in my fingers. I really have been trying to answer as many questions as I can. And I know Greg and some of the other folks on the chat have been as well. I'm sorry I didn't get to all of them. I'll stick around for a couple minutes and type as many answers as I can in here. But I just want to share with you that all of your feedback and all of your engagement is appreciated. Even when you're expressing frustration and upset and disagreement, that's how we make better decisions, right? We get feedback, we get called on things, we get pushed and challenged, and it's kind of like testing the mettle of your decision. So thank you for being here. Thanks for staying engaged. And I do want to say that despite all of the setbacks and despite all of the limitations and rules and guidelines that are outside of our control, the one thing that we do control is we love our kids, we care about our kids, and we want to see them out there both in the classroom and on the field of competition and in the senior special events. We're really looking forward to finishing in person as much as we possibly can. So keep supporting your kid, keep supporting your school, and let us know how we're doing. Thanks a lot.
Thank you again to everyone who attended this evening. We had at one point over 600 attendees. We know this is very, very important to you, as it is to many of us that also have middle and high school students. We are looking forward to seeing your students back on campus, and to all the faces I'm looking at right now on our Zoom. Thank you. Thank you from the parents. Thank you from your colleagues. You all have been working so hard to make this happen, and we greatly appreciate it. So have a wonderful night, everybody.